Good afternoon or good evening, everyone. I'd just like to welcome you to our regular council meeting for October the 20th. And I'd just like to, we do have a proclamation tonight, and we'd like to have members of the Royal Canadian Legion, if they would come and stand to my left, and we'll do our proclamation. Filler. Okay. We are, this is live TV, by the way, so we are live. Okay, it's always a pleasure for me to invite members of the Royal Canadian Legion to our council chambers every year before we have the official proclamation, and certainly again this year is no exception. And we really like to say a big thank you to all of our veterans and to everybody that has worked really over the years. Some have made supreme sacrifice for us. We always recognize in November that that sacrifice was made for us so that we can have the peace that we have today. And so it's my pleasure to recognize Veterans Week, whereas the Government of Canada has declared the period beginning November the 5th and ending on November the 11th, 2015 to be Veterans Week in Canada, and whereas it honors the achievements and sacrifices of Canadians at home and overseas during wartime and in peacekeeping operations around the world. And whereas the education of Canadian youth in the history of Canada's contribution to peace is essential to maintaining that peace. Therefore I, Al Hawkins, Mayor of Grand Falls-Windsor, do hereby proclaim the week of November the 5th to November the 11th, 2015 as the Grand Falls-Windsor Veterans Week, dated at Grand Falls-Windsor this 20th day of October 2015. Customary, I get the first copy, which of course everybody will, I'm assuming, will hit the streets when?
October the 31st, Saturday morning.
Okay, October the 31st, Saturday morning, and we will certainly encourage everyone to support, and I'll put my copy with the other three that's there. And I, as I normally do, I welcome anyone to have any comments. Joe or Dan or Jackie, anybody want to say anything? If not, forever hold your peace.
We're a very good bunch.
I can see that. I've been used to it over the years. I know that's not true. Anyway, again, thank you for coming in, and I'll certainly, if I can squeeze out, and just Jackie.
The flag is going to be raised on the 31st.
Yes. And thank you so much. Here's your copy. And thank you. Everybody enjoy your veterans week.
Thank you very much. No, we're going to do the 31st. Yeah, and as you know, we can't, wear our poppies until
Correct.
the 31st.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Absolutely correct. And we will do the official flag raising next week. And well, we wanted to get the proclamation done tonight and have it done.
Thank you very much.
And thank you guys for coming.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your day. Okay. Moving into our regular meeting for Tuesday, October the 20th. We have our minutes that have been circulated, and are there any errors or omissions in the minutes that were circulated? If not, we'll have a motion to accept, moved by Councilor Moores, second by Deputy Mayor. All those in favor? Against? The motion's carried. Any business arising from the minutes? Okay, no business arising from the minutes. We'll go to our disbursement report. Councillor Pinsent.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move that the disbursement report for $404,588.71 be accepted.
Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Pinsent and second by Councillor Mercer. Any questions, discussions on the disbursement report? If not, all those in favour? Motion's carried. The Economic Development and Tourism, Councillor Coady-Davis.
Thank you, Mayor. The Economic Development and Tourism Committee met on Tuesday, October 13th at 4:30. In attendance, myself as chair, Mayor Hawkins, Deputy Mayor Manuel, Councilor Darren Finn, Councilor Tom Pinsent, and Councilor Bruce Moores. Staff, Mike Pinsent, Town Manager Clerk, Gary Hennessy, Economic Development Officer, and Stanley Singh, the Business Development Officer. 2015 Department Objectives. The Economic Development Officer presented the 2015 Department Objectives. He went through all of the items that were identified, and the committee discussed what progress had been made on each of them. The 2016 Department Objectives. The Economic Development Officer presented the 2016 Department Objectives. The committee reviewed each objective and made various recommendations. The committee will review the departmental budget draft at the next committee meeting in 3 weeks. The Business Development Officer Objectives Review for 2015-16. The BDO reviewed his 2015 objectives and presented his 2016 objectives. The committee discussed various aspects of the report and will take all information into account when addressing the 2016 departmental budget information at the next committee meeting. Our meeting adjourned at 7 p.m. and I move the recommendations and report of this committee.
Moved by Councillor Coady-Davis, second by Councillor Pinsent. Any questions, discussions on the Economic Development and Tourism? If not, all those in favour? Against? Motion carried. Committee of the Whole, Deputy Mayor Manuel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The minutes of the Committee of the Whole meeting held on Tuesday, October 13th at 7 p.m. Present were myself, Councillors Amy Coady-Davis, Darren Finn, Rodney Mercer, Bruce Moores, and Tom Pinsent. Staff present were Mike Pinsent, Town Manager, Jeff Saunders, Director of Engineering and Works, and Barry Griffin, Director of Finance. Fire rescue truck. The committee reviewed the tender documents and the supporting information for the purchase of a used Spartan Gladiator heavy rescue vehicle. The vehicle is not a pumper, but a large truck that will carry the rescue tools, providing lighting, includes a generator, and a cascade system to fill air canisters and support up to 12 firemen. The committee recommends that this tender be awarded to Palmer Automotive and Truck Center for $99,997 plus HST. Plan amendment fees. The Director of Engineering and Works reviewed the cost and preparing and executing municipal plan amendments that are requested to alter regulations and zoning plans. Comparative data was also presented from other municipalities that included the fee charged and applicant for this work. The committee recommends that the fee for municipal plan amendments be $1,000 plus advertising costs and the cost of public hearing commissioner. The committee also recommends that the development regulation amendment fee be $500 plus advertising costs. I move the recommendations and report of this committee, and the meeting adjourned at 8:30 p.m.
Okay, moved by Deputy Mayor Manuel, seconded by Councillor Finn. Any questions, discussions on the Committee of the Whole minutes? If not, all those in favour? And against? Motion's carried. Finance Administration, Councillor Pinsent.
Moving right along this evening for some reason. We had our Finance and Administration Committee meeting Thursday, October 8th from 5:30. In attendance, Councillor Tom Pinsent, Mayor Al Hawkins, Councillor Darren Finn, Councillor Rodney Mercer, Councillor Bruce Moores, and Councillor Coady-Davis. Staff included Barry Griffin, Director of Finance and HR, Mike Pinsent, Town Manager. Labor report. The committee reviewed the labor cost as of week 40. Total labor was $2,520,973. This was $37,850, 1.5% in excess of budget. Committee recommends that staff continue to monitor labor cost. Cash collections. The committee reviewed the taxation receivable report as of September 30th, 2015. The total taxes outstanding as of that date are $2,184,557, an increase of $127,116, or 6.18% from the previous year. The committee recommends staff continue to pursue all outstanding arrears. The committee also reviewed the pre-authorized payments. We are currently collecting $2,760,000 per month and processing 1,720 payments per month. The committee also reviewed collection activity regarding shut-off notices and statement mailouts. The committee recommends staff prepare a collection policy for review at the next meeting. The committee reviewed a request from the Windsor Pentecostal Church. The committee recommends 1/3 page ad at the rate of $250. The committee reviewed a request for a Miss Achievement Newfoundland Labrador Scholarship Program. The committee recommends that $150 be approved for this. The committee reviewed a request from Daffodil Place in support of a one-night stand against cancer. The committee recommends that $500 be approved for this. The committee reviewed a request from the municipality's Newfoundland and Labrador Annual Convention. The committee recommends that $500 be approved for this event as well. The committee reviewed a request for Miss Teen Newfoundland and Labrador Pageant. The committee recommends that $500 be approved for this. Tender summary, heavy rescue fire truck. The committee received a prepared tender for a used fire truck in the amount of $112,997. The amount net of tax is $28,000 in excess of budget. The committee discussed the merit of purchasing a new version used and recommends more information be reviewed at the next Committee of the Whole meeting. Taxation. The committee reviewed a request to recover taxes overpaid in error due to ownership change. The committee recommends that the Director of Finance discuss this issue with the affected parties to attempt to resolve the issue. Pension plan. The committee reviews correspondence from the Provincial Pension Superintendent advising that all our requests for pension solvency exemption has been approved for 2014 to 2016. It was noted that the town has made solvency payments for 2014 and 2015 of $164,196 per annum. It is also noted that a condition of this approval is annual evaluation be completed. The committee recommends we review the issue of solvency payments in the 2016 budget process. 2016 budget preparation schedule. The committee reviewed the 2016 budget preparation schedule for 2015. The committee recommends that staff begin the process. Municipal Assessment Agency. The committee reviewed information regarding the assessment roll. Assessment notices will be mailed out October 5th. The date of accepting appeals is up to November 4th. Blended tax. The committee reviewed an invitation to discuss the proposed blended tax of business and realty tax. This session is presented by the province. The committee agreed that the chair and Director of Finance would attend this session. The meeting adjourned at 8 p.m. I move the recommendation of this report of this committee.
Moved by Councillor Pinsent and second by Councillor Finn. Just a correction on the first page. The committee reviewed pre-authorized payments. We are currently collecting $2.7 million per year bi-monthly.
Yeah, that seemed to...
It would be great if we got $2.7.
Yeah, I kind of thought that was a bit high.
That would be fantastic. Okay, with that correction, any discussion on the Finance Administration Committee meeting? If not, all those in favor and against, the motion is carried. And back to the Public Works and Planning, Councillor Finn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just moving ahead here now. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Public Works and Planning Committee met on Wednesday, October 14th at 4:30 p.m. Present were myself as the chair, Councillor Bruce Morris, Councillor Amy Coady-Davis, Councillor Rodney Mercer, Councillor Tom Pinsent. Present among staff were Town Manager Mike Pinsent, Director of Engineering Works Jeff Saunders, Supervisor of Engineering and Public Works Wayne Tate, and Town Planner Mary Wang. Also attending the meeting was Dwayne Sutherland and Chad Payton, representing Next Plates Hospitality and Retail Association. There was a presentation from Next Plates Hospitality and Retail Association. Mr. Sutherland and Mr. Payton informed the committee that their association was formed to deal with labor-related issues, but expanded to include other business. The waste management fees being charged by the Central Newfoundland Waste Management is one of their issues. They feel that the tipping fees and recycling policies for businesses are developed without knowing the ratios of garbage to recycling for businesses. The fee structure as it exists does not promote recycling, and it is cheaper to class all waste as garbage. The fee of $180 per ton, that is, for non-compliance is also a fee with no merit. The association is concerned that the Central Newfoundland Waste Management, as a non-profit board, can impose fees without any supporting documentation on input from the business community. Since the regional site at Norris Arm opened, one business has had their fees increased by more than 300%. The association feels that communication with Central Newfoundland Waste Management is a problem, and more dialogue is required for all parties to understand the process. Mr. Sutherland and Mr. Payton were excused from the meeting at 5:30 p.m. The committee discussed the concerns raised and supports the discussion with Central Newfoundland Waste Management on behalf of the business community. The committee recommends that a formal letter be requested from the association outlining the impact on the members. The committee also recommends that an additional meeting be held to formulate a position based on the information presented. Home-based business applications. A, 25 Bazan Street, legging business. The committee discussed the request for a legging business at 25 Bazan Street. This is used mainly for administration, and therefore the committee recommends the application be approved. 16 Exploits Lane, piano and voice lessons. The committee discussed a request for piano and voice lessons in a detached garage at 16 Exploits Lane. This notice was mailed to adjacent property owners and placed in the local paper, and no objections were received. The committee recommends this be approved with the following conditions. Must contact and receive approval from Service Newfoundland and Labrador prior to starting. Must add sound barrier installation to the garage that is being used for a home-based business. Must provide clients with and occupants of 16 Exploits Avenue with off-street parking to ensure the business does not create on-street parking issues or congestion to traffic flow. They must ensure the business does not disrupt the residential character or the quiet enjoyment of the neighborhood. And finally, the home-based business sign cannot exceed 0.2 square meters. The sign must be placed within or flat against the main front wall of the dwelling unit or on an entry feature such as a gate, fence, or step. Not finally, I guess 6. The permit is subject to review if complaints are received or if there is non-compliance with town regulations. Council may revoke the business permit if issues cannot be resolved. Another request at 418 Grenfell Heights, an accessory building and small-scale cabin construction business. The committee reviewed the application for an accessory building and small-scale cabin construction business at 418 Grenfell Heights. This was advertised in the local paper and mailed to adjacent property owners. 4 letters of objection were received. The committee reviewed the comments and recommends the request be denied at this time. 121 Harmsworth Drive, a makeup service and lessons. The committee reviewed the request for a makeup service and lessons at 121 Harmsworth Drive. This was mailed to adjacent property owners and advertised in the local paper. There were no objections, but concern was expressed with sufficient parking. The committee recommends the application be approved with the following conditions. Number 1, must contact and receive approval from Service Newfoundland and Labrador prior to starting. Must provide clients and occupants of 121 Harmsworth Drive with off-street parking to ensure that the business does not create on-street parking issues or congestion to traffic flow. 3, must ensure that the business does not disrupt the residential character or quiet enjoyment of the neighborhood. 4, home-based business sign cannot exceed 0.2 square meters, and the sign must be placed within or flat against the main wall of the dwelling unit or on any entry feature such as a gate, fence, or steps. 5, the permit is subject to review if complaints are received or if there is non-compliance with the town regulations. Council may revoke the business permit if the issues cannot be resolved. 264 Grenfell Heights, Pampered Paws, a second kennel building. The committee reviewed the application for expansion of the existing Pampered Paw business at 264 Grenfell Heights. This was advertised in the local paper and mailed to adjacent property owners. No objections were received. The committee recommends this application be approved. Bartle Place, proposed 4-unit building. The committee reviewed the application for a proposed 4-unit building on Bartle Place and plans for an additional 2 buildings. The committee is pleased that this property is finally being developed and recommends that staff work with the developer to improve the facade and make adjustments for the front entrance protection. Interfaith Cemetery, Union Street. The Director of Engineering Works updated the committee on a meeting that was held with the Interfaith Cemetery Committee to discuss the location of burial plots adjacent to the Trans-Canada Highway and maintaining a sufficient buffer. The committee recommends that staff work with the Interfaith Cemetery Committee to determine the appropriate distance and consider whether a tree planting program or a berm construction would be implemented to provide sufficient privacy between the Trans-Canada Highway and the cemetery. Correspondence, 13 Pine Avenue. The committee discussed correspondence from the owner of 13 Pine Avenue outlining a schedule to carry out renovations. The building has been vacant for some time and renovations are required. The owner did some minor work, but more extensive work is required, and the schedule for June 2016. The committee recommends that the schedule submitted be accepted and staff monitor the work. Polybag flower distribution, Ms. Gardner. The committee discussed correspondence from Ms. Gardner requesting permission to erect delivery tubes adjacent to the mailboxes on Granville Heights. Delivery in these areas is difficult due to the distance between houses and the length of driveways. There was also a request under separate mail for boxes on residential lawns at residents that don't have a mailbox on the residence. The committee discussed these requests and has issues with both. There is concern with the aesthetics of the units and the flyers being blown around the neighborhood. The committee recommends that both requests be denied at this time and any units that have been installed be removed immediately. Correspondence, Mr. Porter. The committee discussed a request from Mr. Porter for a chalet development at Goodyear's Dam. The committee recommends this be approved in principle and the process commence with Crown Lands. This was previously owned Abitibi land, therefore the town has to be the applicant. Any condition of land transfer or lease can be finalized when the land is under the town's control. Land request, Charles Hutchings, 31 Knight Street. The committee reviewed a request from Mr. Hutchings for additional land at the rear of 31 Knight Street. The committee recommends that the request be approved, but only to a maximum depth of 50 feet. The land will be sold as per policy. Capital update. The committee discussed the capital programs briefly and recommends a special meeting be arranged to discuss the projects and the redistribution of allocated funds. Pondview Drive, Tulip Drive, traffic flow. The committee discussed the traffic flow at this intersection. Tulip Drive is the arterial route, and the stop signs should be allocated on Pondview Drive. This was approved at a previous meeting. Minor regrading and paving at this intersection is now completed. Tulip Drive is nearing completion. The committee recommends that the stop signs be relocated to Pondview Drive over the next couple of weeks, provided the necessary paint markings can be completed. The appropriate advanced signage must be erected and the stop sign changes be advertised on all media. 7th Avenue King Street intersection. The committee discussed a letter from a resident expressing concern over the change in stop signs at 7th Avenue and King Street. The committee recommends no further changes at this time. Staff will continue to monitor the intersection for traffic flow, slippery conditions during the winter, and report back to the committee as necessary. Tender results. YMCA results. Tenders closed for ventilation upgrading at the YMCA pool on September 30th. 3 bids were received, Dawes Mechanical was the low bidder at $55,000 HST included. Pre-tender estimates was $30,510. This work is necessary due to issues in the pool area, and the committee recommends it be awarded to Dawes Mechanical and the appropriate funds be reprofiled from other allocations to cover the shortfall. Centennial Field Storage Building. Tenders for the construction of a storage building at Centennial Field to replace the existing building closed on October 13th. 5 bids were received. Burnt Bay Construction was the low bidder at $353,192, HST included. Pre-tender estimate was $446,350. The committee recommends the project be awarded to Burnt Bay Construction. The meeting adjourned at 7:30 p.m., Mr. Mayor. I move the recommendations and report of this committee.
Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Finn and seconded by Councillor Moores. Any questions or discussions on the Public Works and Planning Committee minutes? If not, all those in favor? Against? Motion's carried. Parks, Recreation, Special Events. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Parks, Recreation, and Special Events Committee meeting took place on Thursday, October 15th at 4:30 p.m. Present were myself, Councilors Amy Coady-Davis and Bruce Moores, and yourself as Mayor. Staff present were Mike Pinsent, Town Manager, Todd Mercer, Leisure Services Programmer, Keith Antle, Parks and Recreation Foreman, and David Nichols, Director of Parks and Recreation. Red Maple Festival update. The Director presented the 2015 Red Maple Festival schedule to the committee. It was noted that the festival has been expanded to run for 14 days. In addition to new events being added, festival skating sessions will be free of charge. The committee invites all residents to participate in 2 weeks of fall fun activities. Winter use of dog park. The committee discussed the logistics of extending the operation of the new dog park into the winter season. The committee noted that the logistics related to keeping the park open during the winter months are significant and wondered how suitable the park would be to use in times of heavy snow. The committee directed the Parks and Recreation Foreman to contact other communities with dog parks to determine their parks' closing dates and report back at the next committee meeting. The committee will discuss this matter in detail. Communities in Bloom Symposium and Award Ceremony. Chairman Deputy Manuel informed the committee that he and staff had a very successful and beneficial experience at the Communities in Bloom Symposium and Award Ceremony in Kamloops, BC. The symposium was very informative in the area of sports facilities, tournaments, development, and landscaping awareness. The town of Grand Falls-Windsor received an Outstanding Achievement Award for the Home Hardware Beauty Tone Heritage Conservation Award for our work on High Street. The town also received a 4 Bloom rating and a special mention in the 9,000 to 20,000 category at the Communities in Bloom Awards ceremonies. Fall and winter programs. The Leisure Services Programmer presented a tentative list of programs planned for the fall and winter. Several of the programs will commence in November, and there will be a full schedule of programs starting in January 2016. Fall-winter brochure. The Leisure Services Programmer informed the committee that the brochure is currently being compiled. Any individual or group who will be offering any program or activities may contact the programmer at 489-0588. The fall-winter brochure will be sent out to all residents in November. Stadium tournaments and special events. The Director presented the current stadium tournaments and special events list for the 15-16 season. It was noted that there are several tournaments that have moved their dates from after Christmas to before. There are also several new events added this season. The committee invites all residents to participate and attend the many activities and tournaments to be held in our stadiums this season. Wall of Fame update. The committee discussed the Wall of Fame concept and a plan to recruit individuals to serve on a Wall of Fame committee. The committee proposes that the display area of the Joe Byrne Memorial Stadium be used to accommodate this project. The committee members will submit a list of possible residents to serve on the advisory committee at the next meeting. Centennial Field Complex Monument. The committee discussed the repair of the existing monument at Centennial Field. The committee directed the Parks and Recreation Foreman to formulate a cost estimate to repair and or relocate the monument and report back at the next committee meeting. Memorandum, Fan Code of Conduct and Helmet Policy. The committee discussed a memorandum presented by the Director with respect to informing the user groups and the residents regarding the Fan Code of Conduct and helmet policies that have been adopted and will be instituted at the Joe Byrne Stadium and Windsor Stadiums. These policies will also be posted on the town's website and other sources of media. The committee requests that all stadium users support these two major initiatives, which will protect and provide safety and enjoyment to all citizens using the stadiums. The committee also advises any resident requiring any further information on these policies to contact the Parks and Rec Department at 489-0450. Correspondence, Exploits Women's Hockey League. The committee discussed correspondence from the Exploits Women's Hockey League requesting a travel grant for a team to assist with expenses to attend a hockey tournament in Sydney, Nova Scotia. It was noted that the hockey tournament does not qualify for a travel grant funding. The committee recommends that this request be denied. Correspondence, bench memory plate request. The committee discussed a request from a resident to place a nameplate in memorandum on a town bench. The committee discussed the other towns' organizations' policies with respect to memory benches and nameplates. The committee recommends that all in memoriam benches be available for $500, including the bench and plate cost. All benches must be ordered through the Parks and Rec Department and installed by department staff. The committee recommends that this request be approved under the previously stated arrangement. The meeting adjourned at 6:55 p.m. and I move the recommendations and report of this committee.
Okay, moved by Deputy Mayor Manuel and second by Councillor Pinsent. Any questions, discussions on the Parks, Recreation and Special Events minutes? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion is carried. That completes our committee reports. Notice of motion. No notice of motion. Other business. Councillor Amy Coady-Davis. Starting with you tonight.
All right, I do have a few items tonight. First off, I want to talk about the firefighters celebrated their 25th anniversary with a wine and cheese this past Friday, and then their 25th annual firefighters gala or ball on Saturday night. I attended both functions along with many of the other councillors, and I have to say it was a fantastic time. The Friday evening was really nice, casual, just a fun little event. And of course, Saturday night was fantastic with a lovely dinner and the award ceremonies for long service awards and the firefighters, Fire Chief McKenzie's annual report. I wanted to make note, one of the things that really stood out to me are the training hours logged this year by our firefighters. 3,382 training hours. And I made the comment at the ball, it's no wonder that our firefighters, the Grand Falls-Windsor Fire Department, are held in such high regard right across the province and our fire chief across the country. It's because of the amount of time that they spend perfecting and learning and continually educating themselves on fire safety and in educating the public. A lot of the numbers presented by the fire chief with regards to house fires and things like that were down, and I think a lot of that is because of how they're educating the general public on how to be safe and be fire smart. So congratulations to the firefighters, and thank you for all of the hours that you log in training and for keeping our community so safe. We certainly appreciate it. I want to make mention of a young lady in our town. Her name is Anika Walsh. She is participating in Miss Achievement Newfoundland and Labrador, and she is vying for the Community Pride Award. You can vote for Anika, and I would encourage you to do so, and you can vote more than once, so I would encourage you to do that as well. You can visit, the website is missachievement.com, and you click on the Community Pride tab, and you vote for Anika Walsh. Her parents are Dean and Jackie Walsh. They have it shared on their Facebook page. It's also on my Facebook page, so you can certainly, there's no trouble for you to find it. So I would encourage you all to support Anika as she participates in Community Pride, which is a scholarship award. And she's certainly deserving of that award. I also want to mention that Enloe is celebrating Global Women's Entrepreneur Day on November the 19th. And Enloe in Newfoundland and Labrador, obviously, will be hosting 5 events around the province at the same time to celebrate this day. And one of the events will be a breakfast, which will be hosted at the Mount Peyton Hotel here in Grand Falls-Windsor on November the 19th from 8:30 to 10:30. The event is free for Enloe members, and it's also free for other women who would like to attend. You just need to get a registration code. So you can get the registration code by contacting Lindsay Mercer, and Lindsay's address is lmercer@nlowe.org. So I would encourage women to certainly participate in that important event. Barry, Deputy Mayor Manuel, mentioned in his minutes that the Red Maple Festival is coming up. I do have a schedule here. I just want to highlight schedules will be going out in children's book bags. It's on our Facebook page, and it's also on our town website. But starting this weekend are a few events. On Friday, October 23rd, is the Halloween flashlight hunt, which is a very popular event with the children, and it's going to be held at Church Row Park. If the weather doesn't cooperate, it'll be held in the multipurpose room, but that's going to happen from 7 to 8:30, and there'll be prizes awarded for best costumes. On Saturday, October the 24th, it's going to be Cranberry Family Day at Wally Reed's Farm, which is just off the Botwood Highway. There will be signage directing people how to get there. From 11 till 1, there's going to be a farm tour, hay rides, and refreshments, so that should be a very fun event. The Classic Theatre is also doing their annual Zombie Walk, which will happen at 2 o'clock at the Goodyear Avenue Ball Field, and then they walk up to the theatre. And then later in the evening, Shani Ganuk is performing at the Gordon Pinsent Centre for the Arts. And it's also the free pumpkin carving contest at the Joe Byrne Stadium. Registration is at 6, and the carving starts at 7. There will be prizes, and for this event, you have to pre-register by Thursday, October 22nd. You can call 489-0450 to register, and the reason you need to pre-register is because we provide the pumpkins, and we want to make sure that we have enough on hand. And then on Sunday, it's the Cranberry Bake-Off. There's some skating happening. There's an open house and a walk at the ski trails, and the Halloween Howl Walk is going to take place from Church Row Park at 4:30, and that's when we just parade from Church Row Park around the dummy on High Street and back to Church Row Park, and then the kids get loot bags and hot chocolate, because I'm sure we're going to need it according to the forecast this evening. And then, of course, on Sunday night is the From This Rock Culinary Tour. So you can call the Mount Peyton for information on that event at 2251. And then there's a full schedule right up until Bonfire Night, November the 5th. So like I said, I would encourage residents to take part in as many activities as possible. And all the information is certainly available, like I said, on our Facebook page and as well on our website. Thank you.
Councilor Morris.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to also congratulate the fire department on their 25th anniversary, and we wish them well, and I wish Chief Mackenzie's new appointments as on the national level. I wish him well at that. I'd also like to congratulate our friend Scotty Sims, who got re-elected last night, so congratulations, Scott. And I understand this could be your last day in the chair, so Mr. Mayor, I wish you well in your election.
That depends.
I wish you well in your elections.
Thank you, Councilor Morris.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Mercer.
I'm sure as we were all watching the results come in last night, it was a squeaker for Scotty again.
Yeah, it was.
Right? Mr. Mayor, just in case you're wondering, this is not my favorite color.
No.
Pink is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, so my wife reminded me that I should wear something pink. She did have a little lapel for me, but I misplaced it. But I too, Mr. Mayor, would like to congratulate our fire department on the 25th annual gala and ball and wine and cheese. Unfortunately, didn't make the wine and cheese. But I'd also like to congratulate fellow councillor Bruce Moores on his official retirement from the fire department with 42 years and 4 months of active service. When you put it all in perspective, with the exception of you, Mr. Mayor, we were all kids when this guy started volunteering for our town, right? And now I'm sitting here next to him, sir. It's an absolute pleasure, sir. It's an absolute pleasure. Thank you, sir. Take a bow, take a bow.
Okay.
Take a bow.
Thank you very much, thank you very much.
So I think next year what I'm going to recommend to staff is to have the Bruce Moores Award for longest service, that kind of thing. So thank you very much, sir. It's an absolute blessing that people like you do so much years of service in our community, but specifically with the fire department, knowing that when, like it says in the department's prayer, when we're running out, these folks are running in. So it's a blessing to have these people in our community. Moving on, Mr. Mayor, lately I've been on a bit of a rant about Canada Post, so I don't know if I should mention Canada Post again tonight. There was a few political parties making some big promises about keeping door-to-door delivery. Not sure how that's going to pan out. But one thing I'd like to mention about Canada Post is the appearance of mailboxes around our community. I think what we need to do sometime in the near future is take a serious look at our policies and what we've got around Canada Post. Now, I know Canada Post and their post office are sort of a standalone entity, and we really got no strict rules and regulations. But if you take a quick visual appearance of the surrounding areas, it's not very aesthetically pleasing. There's potholes, there's mud, very few are paved. But if you look in the bigger cities, and I went online, I did some research just looking at the appearance of these mailboxes. They got nice cobblestone bricks leading up to them, nice walkways, they're paved, and in most cases here in Grand Falls-Windsor, if we go to drive up to a mailbox, we're getting out, we're jumping mud puddles, that type of thing. So if you're going to have a level of service in one part of the country for certain communities or residents, we're going to expect the same thing right here in Grand Falls-Windsor. So we may need to request a meeting with Canada Post and let them know this, because we just received an award, the Deputy Mayor received an award for Communities in Bloom. It's all about looking good, it's all about beautification. But if you've got mailboxes and it's not tidied up, it's not landscaped properly and all that, it's that much harder to win these types of awards. So I think something we really need to take a look at in the very near future. I'd like to, moving on, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to congratulate a fellow Quanian, Artie Day. Artie Day recently received the Senior of Distinction Award from the Government of Newfoundland and Labrador. And it essentially celebrates the achievements and diversity of older people in the communities and regions across our province. So I'm sure we all know Mr. Day around the community and the work that he does with many organizations, including the Kiwanis. You and I are very familiar with that, Mr. Mayor, and I'd like to congratulate him, and I think it should be appropriate that we as a council send a letter congratulating him on such an achievement.
That award, I think, if I remember correctly, I did send out a letter earlier, because I think that award was announced.
It was announced some time ago, yeah.
And I followed it up with a letter at that time.
Perfect. One step ahead of me, sir. Another thing I want to discuss a little bit tonight is subdivisions and developments in our town. It's always great to see subdivisions being developed. I'd like to see a lot more of them. But we as a council, we need to do a little bit more work, and we need to stay in constant contact with the developer. Here recently I've received a lot of complaints from residents from a certain subdivision. And it has to do with a lack of communication with the developer. I've dealt with 2 specific cases on Ryan Street here lately, where I've had to call the Director of Public Works and send staff up with a street sweeper to clean the street. People are complaining about dust levels. We've had residents with their sprinklers aiming out to the streets to keep dust levels down. People are complaining that they can't go for a walk because of the dust levels. And what it is, it's a developer extending his development, but driving through a residential area with heavy equipment and the dust and debris that just falls off the trucks. and residents are getting frustrated with it. I've spoken to our Director of Engineering Public Works several times, and immediately he sent staff up, so I'd like to thank him and his staff for going and correcting this work. And it was only last week I called him, the director again, and we sent up the street sweeper. And today, you drive down Ryan Street, and there's 3 inches of dirt. You wouldn't know if they covered the road with dirt. It's absolutely ridiculous. So residents in the area are threatening now to go to social media and complain about this because they feel that we, as a town, are not acting on their behalf, which we are, but we need a subdivision agreement with a developer that's got fine lines of rules and regulations about all this. Now, I know it's a work in progress, and it will take some time. We just recently had another complaint from the same subdivision about flooding and water issues and damages to backyards. And the residents are being told, well, it's not our problem. Until they started developing this subdivision a little more, these residents never had a problem with water in their backyards. And now their backyards are becoming covered with water and silt, and they've got lawn damage, and they're being told that, well, you're the homeowner, it's your fault, which I don't think is the appropriate answer coming from a developer when they got work going on 50 or 100 feet behind their houses. And people have got lawn damage in excess to $3,000 and are being told that, well, the landscaping and grading on your property is not what it should be. But they're not the original owners. The previous owners did the landscaping and grading and sodded it over. So these are just examples that we as a town in a subdivision agreement with a developer should be asking for. And because if the complaints keep coming in, we're going to have no choice but to stop development in these subdivisions until we get a finer plan in place and a better level of communication. So I'm frustrated with the amount of calls and complaints that I'm getting, and I'm sure these people are as well, especially when they threaten to take it to social media. Anyway, Mr. Mayor, that's all I have for now, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Mercer, Councillor Pinsent.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Coady-Davis mentioned and Councillor Moores mentioned about Fireman's Ball, and I'd like to thank the firemen once again for another great year and inviting us to the Fireman's Ball. I was there Saturday night and I enjoyed it. And once again, I just like Councillor Mercer said, I had my notes as well. Congratulate Councillor Moores on 42 years of being a firefighter, and that's absolutely amazing. Just want to remind residents about the art procurement on the 24th. If you have anything that the residents have any art or want to give, I'm sure our Director of Finance, his office is just, he's made room in his office to bring anything you want to bring down to his office art-wise. Isn't that correct? That is correct. I knew you would be like that. I'd like to congratulate the Development Officer for Stan Singh today, who had the seniors conference this morning. I was there this morning and brought greetings on behalf of the town, and I must say he did a very thorough job, and it was well attended, so well done there. One of the things that seniors and we kind of a council with an election last night of a new government, and one of the things I spoke about, and something I really feel passionate about, and I think as a council we probably should add our voice to it, although we have very little power, and that is the changing of the Canada Pension Plan. We have people that are going into politics, looking to go into politics, and I mean the Canada Pension Plan right now, a lot of people are living, a lot of seniors are living below the poverty line, which I think is unacceptable. And I think they can make changes in the Canada Pension Plan, and as a council probably we should be speaking out more about it. Two, if they took the Canadian Labour Congress have already said, if you take the pensioners right now and the seniors and double the pension plan, you'd lift them right out of poverty, which would be good, of course, for the economy. Now, this can be done over a 7-year period by eventually increasing the CPP payments from employees and employers. And so it can be done. So I hope that, and it's not only as good for the economy as well. So I think for our seniors, and we have a high number of seniors in the area, is what I think as a town we should be saying a little bit more about that. On a lighter note, wish the mayor, who is, I think, taking a leave of absence, and good luck in your campaign, sir. And we promise you that we'll give the deputy mayor just as hard a time as we give you.
I'm sure you will.
I'm sure you will. Already did. Well, we'll pick up the pace. How's that? On a sad note, on a very sad note, note the passing of John Drake, who was an employee at times with the Parks and Recreation Department, and is somebody I've known for many, many years. And it kind of strikes home because he was still fairly young, so I'd like to pass some condolences on to the people in the Parks and Rec Department, and of course his family and close friends. And that's all I have tonight, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Pinsent. Councillor Finn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of things. First of all, I'd just like to respond to Councillor Mercer's remarks about the subdivision, because he did the couple of instances that he referred to in his comments were, I'm also aware, he made me aware of them, and the Director of Engineering and Public Works and I visited the area and we looked at, so we know exactly what the complaints are about. And we agree, there is work that got to be done there, and there is responsibilities that are shared around there. So that work, addressing those complaints in terms of damage to properties, we're working through that, and I'm hopeful that that can be resolved in a way that meets everybody's expectations involved. But there's clearly responsibility there for the developer. Also, as well, with the dirt that builds up on the road because of the development going through on a section of road that's already paved, to some degree it's unavoidable. I agree there's some planning, probably some differences we can do in planning. But I would encourage people living in the area that, I realize it's annoying to you to feel like, I've got to complain again, because as soon as the complaint is made, I agree with Councillor Mercer, we sent the sweeper right away. It was down there within hours. As a matter of fact, it got down there before I got down there in the same day. So we will send a cleaner. Everybody acknowledges that having mud built up on the road because of the back and forth of dump trucks is not acceptable. So we will make sure it's cleaned up, and if the residents involved or that are experiencing that problem find that, it's getting away again, as another day, an email after the director, or to any councillor, Councillor Mercer, or to myself, and we'll make sure the situation gets rectified right away. Separately, as Councillor Mercer would know, and the rest of the council, we are always working to improve the subdivision agreements and to build in language in those agreements that remove all of the problems that we deal with, all the various subdivisions, not just down in Grenfell Estates. We've dealt with a number of issues in terms of the standards of construction, phasing, and all of these issues in other developments. So we're always working to improve those subdivision agreements, and before we enter into any new ones, because these are all pre-existing, we will make sure that the language is stronger, and that's the goal of the Public Works Committee, and I would suggest all of council. So I just wanted to add that, those couple of remarks. Just to move on to another issue, Mr. Mayor, and that is in the last public meeting, I made some remarks about central waste management and a new fee they had imposed of $180 per ton for mixed waste. Since that meeting, and that was reported in the media, since that meeting, there's a business group that met with the Public Works Committee, also voicing their concern for the same issues and additional issues in terms of the lack of communication, what they feel from Central Newfoundland Waste Management to the business community, in understanding their business and how they're going to get their waste from their business to the waste management facility, and the short timelines that are often imposed. For instance, I'm looking here at a memo that was circulated, I've seen it in August of this summer, informing the business community of a new $180 per ton fee implemented in September, which is no time in terms of the large number of people and businesses that have to react to, have their businesses change to react to changes at Central Newfoundland Waste Management. And then, Mr. Mayor, I looked back at the Central Newfoundland's Waste Management's website, and the website had in their fees for effective January 1st, 2015, for mixed garbage was $122 a ton, which was up from $117 the year before. So from January to September, when they implemented a $180 per ton fee for what is effectively mixed garbage, demonstrated for me a clear example of a board that has the capacity to implement fees without any recourse that I could see, other than a complaint from council, but it don't change the fee. And so we are a customer of the Central Newfoundland Waste Management, like the businesses are, albeit we're a large customer and we spend in excess of $400,000 a year in tipping fees. Having said all that, what I'm looking for, Mayor, and why I raise it tonight is that I'm looking for members of the business community, and this is the same request, by the way, that we made to the business group that met with us, to put in writing to council exactly what their experience is with dealing with waste management for their businesses. What I'd like to know is how the waste separation has impacted their business, positively or negatively. How about how the costs have changed for them since the implementation of the new regulations, and if they have any thoughts on ways that it could improve. And what we'll do with all of that information, Mr. Mayor, is that we'll take all that information and examples, and council as a full body will discuss it and formulate a position in terms of how to approach Central Newfoundland Waste Management, what issues are real, what ones are real enough that we can deal with and suggest changes and recommendations. So I put that call out to the business community tonight, Mr. Mayor. Perhaps we can formulate some communication and put it out through our social media as well. So that's all I really wanted to say with that for tonight, Mr. Mayor. And we'll meet on again at a future committee meeting, hopefully in the next 3 weeks, but it depends on the feedback and how fast people get back to us. It may go on into this 6 weeks. And then we'll formulate a position and take it from there. So that's what I wanted to speak on Central Newfoundland Waste Management. The last thing I wanted to talk about, Mr. Mayor, is politics. Obviously, we had a federal election last night, and we all know those results. But also very newsworthy is that our MHA, Susan Sullivan, resigned from politics this past week. And I think Susan, as an MHA, has been an exemplary MHA. She has given us excellent representation. I think council will agree. She has served 2 terms, was there basically effectively 8 years, and she came into her position and immediately into cabinet, into minister positions, and has held every senior minister position within government, and done an amazing job at it, managing those significant workloads. And when she first came into her position, it was at a time when the mill had just closed. So it was a very challenging time for our community. And in the years that have passed, all of the work of council, our capital programs at the time the mill closed, the severance issues that got worked out, all of those issues required her leadership and support. And I know she gave it her all. And I think we'll miss her as an MHA. So I congratulate her tonight, and I'm sure council will join with me in congratulating her on her service and wish her well in whatever she does next. So that's all I have for tonight. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Finn and Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a few things tonight, just to keep with the theme of congratulating our fire department on their 25th anniversary. I mean, I said it many times, and I know everybody here echoes it. We heard it from some of the councillors tonight, but just about every community has a fire department, you know, or most, which are fortunate enough to have them. And I'm sure they all say how proud they are of the fire department, but it's so easy for us to mean it, if you know what I'm saying. I mean, our fire department is top-notch, and Councillor Coady-Davis mentioned the amount of training that they do, and just such a professional group. I mean, they're ready. We know they're prepared for any situation. They've proven that on numerous occasions, and without going on any further on that, I just wanted to chime in as well. And
not just here.
And not just here. That's what I was getting at. Sometimes they're called on in other areas because of their expertise, which is, you know, something to be proud of as well. Also, I'd like to congratulate Susan Sullivan on her retirement from politics. Susan's been a friend of mine for a long time, and, you know, she's done a great job. I agree with Councillor Finn, and I know the people in the community would echo that, and in the region, and I hope she enjoys her retirement. I know it was a tough decision for her. You know, she's a very smart lady, very articulate lady, and someone who's done a lot for the community in the region, so just want to wish her well in her retirement from politics. And Councillor Pinsent mentioned something else I was going to mention. That's the passing of John Drake. Knew John for approximately 30 years or so, I would say. John used to coach me a little bit in the old ball hockey league, and known him for years. And, you know, sad to hear that he took sick and passed at such a young age. And John, for those of the people who don't know him, you know, he had sort of a rough and gruff exterior, but he had a big heart. You know, he was a really kind, nice guy, great guy to talk to. I had many good conversations with John over the years, and my condolences to the family as well. Sad to see John go. Another reminder to us all, you know, how short life is sometimes. And the other thing I had here, coincidentally, I won't go on, but Councillor Finn talked about the waste management and the concerns of the business community, and I wasn't at that Public Works meeting, but I certainly support the decision of Council to take those concerns from the small business community. And I would echo Councillor Finn's remarks about encouraging people to give us their examples and their experiences with their dealings with central waste. There's no doubt that the fees need to be adjusted to be fair to all business and, you know, to better reflect the waste that's being produced. And that does not seem to be the case now when you see the example of a small business that was noted in minutes of increasing the fees of 300%. So certainly something is astray there, and I'm all in favor of pushing Central Waste to make the appropriate changes in that. And I'd expand on that just a little bit. I'm invited to bring greetings to a small business luncheon on Thursday at the golf course. And, you know, I hear sometimes around town the remarks that town doesn't support small business. You know, I hear that statement, and it gets to me a little bit when I tell people, and I would say here publicly tonight, and it goes along with what Councillor Finn was saying, that we want to hear from you. We want to hear from small business. I mean, we're here to cooperate with small business as we are with the community, and if for some reason a small business or a citizen out there feels that we're not supporting small business for whatever reason, then contact us and let us know. I mean, the communication lines should be fully open as they are on our side of things. And if we don't know sometimes about some of these issues that people feel that we're not supporting, well, it's difficult to adjust to support them when you're not aware. So by all means, the business community is something we want to continue to support and better serve if we can. And communication is key there, and I'd welcome any comments from them. And that's all I have for tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and thank you, everybody, for your items of business. It would be, I was also going to speak with regard to Minister Sullivan, but I know that the Deputy Mayor and Councillor Finn has already done so. And I just want to, on behalf of all of Council, really say a big thank you to Susan, because I know the last 6 years as Mayor, we have worked very, very close. She's done a tremendous amount of work for our community, as she has done, of course, for the other communities as well that she served. But one of the things I always found was that whenever we needed anything, she was only a phone call away, and there was no such thing as not answering our phones or not or ignoring us. And so I too, on behalf of all of Council and all the citizens of Grand Falls-Windsor, want to say a big thank you to Susan for all that she did do, and certainly wish her well in her retirement and getting away from the hustle and bustle of politics and having to deal with people. She's probably going to find it somewhat boring for a while, but I'm sure that she will appreciate all that she has done And at Saturday night, I had an opportunity in a side conversation to thank her personally for all that she's done for this community and the efforts that she put into it. She was deputy mayor, and then, of course, going on right, as Councillor Finn mentioned, pretty much from deputy mayor right into the cabinet position. So, and she did hold a lot of high-profile cabinet positions, which, of course, being on the inner circle of cabinet was important for our community. And I certainly want to wish Susan all the best as well. There are a couple of other local people that I'd like to recognize. If you probably read about it, we have a senior, Hilda Morrill, and Hilda has just published her first book, and certainly I know she's very proud of that. Did an interview with the Telegram and talked about it passionately, and certainly we don't want to give away ages, but Hilda has been certainly a important figure in this community for many, many, many years, and to be able now sit back and write a book, I certainly want to recognize Hilda. And we also have a gentleman that's well known to the town of Grand Falls-Windsor, and that's Dave Grimes. Dave Grimes this coming week will be heading off to Toronto for the Canadian Slow Pitch Hall of Fame. And so Dave will be inducted into the Canadian Slow Pitch Hall of Fame for all of his years as umpiring. I know, Barry, you and I, some of the calls he's made over the years have been good, right?
He'll always get you laughing no matter.
And he probably learned them from over there on the other side, right?
He's trained well, trained well.
No, and there was no way of changing, once the call was made, the call was made.
Forget it. He didn't mind telling you.
And I didn't mind telling you. So congratulations to Dave on that being inducted into the Canadian Hall of Fame, which is a big achievement for slow pitch. Yeah. And as, of course, a couple of people mentioned, I will be taking my leave this week until November the 30th, and we'll see what happens then. One of the biggest regrets I have in leaving now is the fact that I can't believe I'm going to miss all the meetings for budget. If you want to send a few emails or something when you're in your meetings for budget, I would appreciate that. But seriously, I know this is a very busy time for councillors sitting around the table. Once you get into October, November, and December, getting budget preparations, and it's just the number of hours of work that's got to go into that. Getting ready for budget is always demanding, and certainly will take you away from your families, particularly during the next couple of months, above and beyond, really. And certainly, I want to wish everybody well when it comes to our budget deliberations. And again, like I said, we'll see what happens in November 30th. Maybe December the 1st, I'll be back again and continuing on as normal, or I'll be somewhere else. We'll see how that goes. But what's that? Yeah, right. Anyway, I'm going to be leaving this in the capable hands of my deputy mayor, who I have every confidence in the world that is going to be leading us through the next 6-7 weeks for sure. And certainly, I know that this town has done extremely well, and we've put a lot of money into capital works this year, and it's always encouraging when you get when you talk to people in the grocery stores and in the different areas around town. They say, "We're so pleased with the amount of work that's going on," and you know, all that work does come with a cost, and but you know, we're providing the services, and we're able to access the money and the funding for that, and as long as we've got this 70-30, man, I tell you, it's that when you can get 70 cents to $1 given to you. Certainly that's areas that you've got to take advantage of. So again, I guess I will not see you in 3 weeks, but our next regular council meeting will be in 3 weeks, and maybe I'll come back for the deliberation of the budget. That will be interesting, especially if I never had anything to do with it. You can do all the bad stuff, and I'll take care of it for you. Anyway, no further comments. I'll have a motion. It's moved by Councillor Moores and second by Councillor Pinsent. Councillor Finn, and we'll see you all in 3 weeks.